What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Pick Swap Podcast. I'm here with Shawnee B. Of course, Sean's my always partner, but we're also here with Chris, partner from DPL, the Painted Lines, controls their YouTube, does a bunch of cool stuff for them. We're going to have a great conversation today. So, Chris, thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm just honored to join. I'm ready to talk shop with my guys here. I know Sean, he's jumped on our shows multiple times. Guys, thank you. Man, Sixers are in some troubled waters for sure. It's an interesting time in Sixers versus Ben, Joel, Tobias, Tyrese, Maxey, Doc, Rivers. Let's go.
Yeah, feel the same way. I mean, 3 straight wins, so can't complain about that. But definitely some bigger games on the horizon and a little bit worried for what to come. But as it is, pretty happy for what I'm seeing. The best post player in the NBA is starting to play in the post again. So for me, baby steps, I'm happy.
Yeah, that was I think that was the biggest thing for me recently with Embiid, and we've seen him get back to this dominance over the last 2 games specifically. But he had that long time off, recovered from COVID, thankfully, and we've seen this knee get a lot of rest. Seems like it's helped a lot. So over the last 2 games, 75 points. I think it was 23 or 24 rebounds in these last 2 games. Was ridiculous over the last 2. So what was the best part of this 2-game stretch in Charlotte for you?
For me?
Yeah, for you.
Oh yeah, easily getting down to work down low. 18 of 21 at the paint, in the paint over the last 3 games. Nearly 20 points a game in the second halves over these last 3 games. Sixers are 7-0 when Joel Embiid scores 20 or more points. When Joel Embiid goes, so does the Philadelphia 76ers. Nobody questions that. You look at his start to the season, especially in that second half. It's been a sluggish start, at the beginning of the season. It's been a slow start for him in those second halves where he just didn't have the legs. He wasn't getting to the free throw line enough. You see right now, the last 3 games, I'm happy to see him. He's knocking down those shots. He's knocking down those mid-range pull-up jump shots that he missed early on. However, I'm a little worried about this Doc Rivers offense. No doubt about it, especially late game situations. The offense is literally just clear out, give Joel Embiid the ball down low, put Tyrese Maxey in the dunker spot. It is a hot mess. Tyrese Maxey is not here in the totem pole of the offense. He's here. That's how far he has fallen ever since he just was completely thrown, relegated after an amazing November. So I'm happy for Joel Embiid to get it back going. What it means for the regular season. They played a depleted Charlotte Hornets team that had no big men really to get him going there down low. So I'm happy to see Joel Embiid get his points, get going there down low in the paint. What does it mean big picture wise? There are still major kind of question marks for what this team looks like going down the line.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with everything you said there. And I mean, first off, from Embiid's perspective, I'm super thrilled to see him looking like himself again. You can just see the effort off ball with him working to get position, get open. It's been so much better in these recent games, but it's definitely frustrating. These are games that honestly both should have been blowouts and shouldn't have been games that the Sixers are struggling to win. And frankly, they only won them because of Joel Embiid and Embiid having the mindset of like, I'm not losing this game. Like there were many moments during both these games where it's just like, all right, I got to do it. I'm taking over. I'm doing this myself. And I love that he can do that. It's awesome that he's good, but he frankly just should not have to in these games. And I love him getting to the free throw line. He had 19 last night, 14 the first game. That's tremendous. And nice to see the form coming back. He had some struggles there, which is rare from him early on, but 15 of 19 last night. Perfect points there. Yeah, I mean, Joel Embiid is awesome. That's so cool to see him back to his full form. The first game against the Hornets was one of the best I've seen him play, just far as like even the entry pass to Tobias at the end, the passing, 7 assists there. It's kind of like we are having once again, like, what can't this guy do moment. And it's cool that he kind of keeps raising the bar for himself. But just like it is incredibly frustrating how much we live and die with Joel Embiid.
But wasn't that like part of our lessons learned here in last year's playoffs against the Hawks? Like Joel Embiid's only going to take you so far.
Right.
Relying on a 2-man game of Seth and Joel is only going to take you so far moving forward. You have a guy like Tyrese Maxey, a lightning rod in the pick and roll, his mid-range game, the floater game, all that being said, like Joel Embiid's magic lately has been amazing to watch. But are you guys a little bit concerned? Like Tobias Harris, he's the next option. He's regressed. Then you've got even Danny Green gets more touches than, Tyrese Maxey. Even Matisse Thybulle had more touches than Tyrese Maxey last night. It is an absurd thing that we're seeing here in this offense. It is, for me, not even like not a Tobias Harris problem, which it is. It's more of a Doc Rivers problem that we're not adjusting to the talent that we're seeing. He's not seeing what we saw in November. He's not. He's adjusting at none, and he's just giving us everything we have seen since last year's playoffs. The same thing.
I would love to talk about that because I'm as big of and I gave Doc Rivers credit over that stretch of time where they didn't have Joel, they didn't have Tobias, but he raised the floor for them. He absolutely did for these young guys, and then immediately goes back to square one. And like, I'm losing my mind watching Tyrese Maxey play Ben Simmons light, walk up the floor, hand the ball off, and get out of the way. Go stand in the dunker spot as a 6'2" point guard that can't. Like, I don't think he has a standing dunk in his package. I don't think that that's in his bag. But instead of, using him on the perimeter where he can beat guys off the dribble, hit an occasional jump shot, get to the rim, facilitate. No, rather you'd have him stand in the dunker spot where he's completely irrelevant and then play 4-on-5 as Joel isolates on the other side of the floor. Like, there's no creativity offensively, which is frustrating for me because it's like you have scorers. You have, Danny Green is a great stand still, catch and shoot guy. He should be doing that. That's his offensive role, stand in the corner, catch and shoot. That's not what Tyrese Maxey does. If he's inside the paint, he should not be stagnant.
Yeah.
He should not ever stop his feet if he's inside the 3-point line. Really. Like, he should be moving until he gets the ball or until he's open again. Like, that's how basketball should work, and it just doesn't work with the Sixers that way.
It's amazing. Oh, sorry, Sean. Go ahead, man.
100%. One of the beauties of basketball to me is just watching like different guys be able to use the different assets and being able to use guys in different ways and like just the chess behind it. And you just see so much of a lack of that in Doc. It's so much stand around and watch Joel. And with Maxey specifically, when we talk about like what makes a good NBA player, you kind of have to have like a one trait that makes you stand out. And Maxey has it with his pace. And you see that's like key to opening up everything in this game. He can walk into whatever mid-range shot he wants because the guys are so feared of that like blow-by speed. And that pace is such an asset in this offense that just hasn't been there before. When we think about how that could be utilized in like a two-man game and just like running around, dribble handoffs, these are all things that need to be worked on and need to be hammered out. And especially in the regular season, we're talking about, we know what we have on this team right now, more or less. Like, this is pretty much the same exact team as last year when we talk about playoffs. Obviously, the Ben Simmons issue is the lingering effect and a little Niang piece, Drummond upgrades, slight upgrades there. But more or less, this is the same built team. Maxey and the growth that he has, how high his personal addition can raise the ceiling of his team and the growth that he has is really what we're trying to find out. So why not just throw this guy in the fire? Let's see what he can actually do. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there's nothing to lose by just giving him opportunities. And frankly, I believe in the kid.
Yeah, it's amazing how, like, you just watch the last few games. Like, you watch this team in clutch situations, late game situations. No one can handle the damn ball. Nobody. At least Tyrese Maxey will put pressure on a defense. And what we have learned in November, like, he has gravity on defenses when he has the ball in his hands. He creates space for the guys in the corners like Danny Green, guys like Seth Curry. That the fact that we're not even seeing that, there was what was the game where he wasn't even on the fucking court? Like, what are we doing?
Celtics game.
Game. Like I have complained since the Atlanta series about Doc Rivers. I have done it again and again, and I get ridiculed by my man Austin about it. He loves him some Doc Rivers. I just don't see it. Like, I agree. He's a great regular season coach, but what are we doing about getting ourselves ready for the playoffs? Tyrese Maxey is not perfect. He's not a perfect player. There's been times when he's dribbled down low and he's had guys open in the corner and he didn't dish. And instead it was a bad miss. And what we saw though, eventually he started getting the calls. He started getting to the free throw line. He had real momentum going. And then sure enough, Joel comes back. Tobias is back. And his usage rate goes down. The assist points created goes down. This is a guy who was right up there with guys like DeMar DeRozan in the mid-range game. His numbers were as good as DeMar DeRozan pull-up game in the mid-range. Talk about shooting and taking that next level. He was everything and then some. So it's a real shame to see him kind of just relegated in this offense. Not one, not two, not three. He's like fourth or fifth option on this team now.
Yeah.
And Doc has to make adjustments. He has to make adjustments. And I don't know if I have that confidence right now. It is what it is.
I don't have that confidence either because I've been, proven wrong having confidence. And like, again, I know that, like, I don't even want to get into Ben because that's a completely different thing. We don't have to talk about that. Too far gone. But the way a misused player is a misused player one way or another. It seems to be that the blueprint that Doc Rivers had for Ben in the half court offense was a misuse to begin with. But when you transfer that from, a 6'10" athletic, power or whatever you want to call him, a point forward player, when you now just plug a 6'2" player that's Tyrese Maxey into that position, it's still a misused player regardless. Like it doesn't change that it never worked. Now it just is so more blatant that it doesn't work. And I don't really know where you go from this. I think the philosophy of the offense has to change a bit. It's frustrating because it almost points to more of a real like structural issue, a real roster construction issue, a real situation that it might need a rehaul. Like we might be looking at a lot more things that have to change before we get to like a more modern offense. But we've seen Doc Rivers, like when he left LA, the first thing Paul George said was, "I was misused." Next season, he has an MVP caliber year. Like I'm being dead serious. Like Paul George literally has had the best 2 seasons of basketball of his career in the last 2 years. The minute Doc Rivers leaves the city, and the first thing he said when he was gone was that was Doc Rivers' fault. Like it's time and time and time again. I don't know what to say about it. I've been out on Doc Rivers. I've been kind of reeled back in, and I think he does a lot of things well. He harbors a great culture. I think he really does go to bat for his players. But I was saying to Sean before we got on, like saying that the world wasn't ready for Shake Milton, like that's the type of thing. He just blows a lot of smoke. He just he says a lot of things. It's hard to know what's actually true though. I don't know what Doc.
I think he's a huge bullshitter. I really do. I think he's as fake as possible.
I do. I mean, to stick up for Doc a little, and this isn't really a position I fully hold myself on, but I do think the guys on the team genuinely like him, and it certainly feels like he has quite a long leash within the organization as far as their faith in them. And it is, as far as evidence-wise, like he definitely has unlocked Embiid to an extent. I think a lot of that is just belief in it, and he has fully catered the offense to Embiid, so that frankly should be happening. But there is like, I don't think we're a coach away from winning a championship as it is what I would say. Like when we think about the construction of this team, like Tobias Harris, and I mean, I've rode my roller coaster on the Tobias Harris wave, but frankly, having your top 2 guys operate best in the post and in the mid-range in today's day and age, that just doesn't work. And I like that we're developing. Curry has been excellent, but he can be swallowed up by like a larger wing. And you see how he lives in the mid-range as well, because a lot of times he kind of has to come off those screens and take that extra dribble just to create that separation. And there's just like a lot of problems here. I do think the team genuinely likes him, which I think is why he sticks around. I think Embiid certainly likes him, and that definitely matters when we talk about keeping your stars happy, keeping Embiid happy, and that's such a big deal moving forward. But like, it is incredibly frustrating for a guy that's been around basketball so long, a guy that played at such a high level, coached at such a high level. A lot of these like critiques and observations are not like high level basketball IQ takes. These are simple, like you watch and it's like there's 3 seconds game and we have not a real ball handler on the floor because you want shooting out there. Like, are you serious right now? Tobias Harris is the guy you want creating off the dribble here. And there's so many just like little critiques that is kind of like it bothers me that it's like these aren't high IQ takes that is making that. They're very pretty common observation when you just sit back and watch the Sixers. So that's my largest frustration with them.
It's like Seth Embiid, 2-man game. If that doesn't work, throw it to Tobias with 5 seconds left, and he'll jack it up. If that doesn't work, throw it to Danny Green. He'll jack it up, and then it's Tyrese Maxey. My frustration with this team is the offense. You look at kind of where this team is. They're the 3-point shooting is diminishing. They're not moving the ball enough. What is their identity on offense? I give Doc so much credit. That stretch, that 8-2 stretch to start out the season, given everything they had to deal with, was really impressive. But you look at, 19th in assist points created. This is since Joel Embiid's return. 19th in assist points created, 23rd in offensive rating, 25th in true shooting percentage, 26th in points in the paint, and 28th in drives. We are literally scrounging for offense. And you look at, transition defense has carried over from last year. That's still really, really bad. But you look at their inability to get points out of turnovers. Their points off turnovers is literally among the worst in the NBA. You look at, second chance opportunities. They've given up a ton. You look at giving up offensive rebounds to opponents. They have given up a ton. What does that mean? What does that mean? You look at Seth Curry and Tyrese Maxey, and as much as I love those two to death, that's not a championship backcourt. It just isn't. They're getting eaten alive. They're getting out rebounded. You look at last night's game, even with George Niang, athletic wings, athletic guards are eating them alive, getting down low. So as much as I love Tyrese, as much as I love Seth, this is not a championship roster. There's many pieces that need to be put on the table still. And I think people need to see that. And that's really kind of what your expectations are. But you look at last year, the identity of this team was defense. And as much as people want to just like throw Ben out the window, he was that defensive anchor, especially in the fourth quarter. You look at kind of clutch situations this year, the team, like outside of Joel Embiid, everyone else is a negative on this court. Everyone else is a net negative other than Joel Embiid. So the team isn't getting it done in clutch situations like they did last year. A big part of that is that major defensive piece that's missing. And that goes to Matisse Thybulle, who has really taken a step back this year. He's not that defensive stopper. He's more of a team defense guy. It started out kind of well, but his lack of offense and his I don't even know. He doesn't shoot threes. He doesn't attack the rim. And there's just so many missing pieces on this roster that they don't fit. They truly don't fit. And I don't know what this identity of this offense or defense is moving forward. They have won 3 in a row, but there's major looming issues.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of us I personally do too. Like I get caught up in the win and I'm feeling good. And then I look at this, like I think about it all the time. I think I like, and maybe there's really no like hard evidence to this, but the Sixers have 3 players that start for them that like are very unlikely to get above the rim at any point in time. Like think about how ridiculous. And Tobias Harris, let's be honest, he's not the most athletic. He'll surprise you and put someone on a poster every once in a while. But like Maxey, Curry, and Danny Green, Curry will never dunk. Danny Green surprised us with one last week.
Yeah.
And Maxey's very rare, maybe on a fast break.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no other 1, 2, 3 combination that can't dunk in the NBA. And then the rest of it's slow. Like Danny Green to me has been a really big, like I like Danny. I really do appreciate what he is as a basketball player and who he is to the team as a leader. But he frustrates the hell out of me as a player because there's just no other small forward in the league that starts. That's just the only thing that he's able to do on the court is catch and shoot. Defensively, he's a fraction of what he used to be. Tobias Harris has been obviously really frustrating. And like when you look at it, like the Sixers lack just pure athletes. The only one they have really is Matisse, and he can't stay on the floor because like he looks terrified on the offensive side of the ball. And like you said, he's not the defensive stopper that Ben is. He's not the physical presence that Ben is. He's fantastic on that side of the ball, obviously, but like I don't even know what to say about the way the roster looks. And we can get more into that or kind of avoid it altogether because it feels like an existential crisis at some point. But when you talk about like thinking now, Maxey really could be, if he's getting the chances in the second unit the way that he was getting the chances with the starters through that stretch, which really ended up being like most of the second unit. Is that the like, because you said you wanted that to be the path for Maxey maybe the rest of the season just to unlock him offensively and give yourself at least some sort of identity in terms of bench scoring. So if you were to do that, who would you then move into the starting lineup?
It would be Shake, which again, there's no perfect answers to this. Like it's still a hot mess. But at least with Shake in that starting lineup, you've got Matisse and you can push the tempo a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like all starting lineups, all bench lineups that Doc does. I'm talking about staggering guys. Like I'm not like saying like just Tyrese and that's it. Like I would want a mix. But I feel like I feel like that is the best avenue for Tyrese right now. Especially with this team right as it currently stands. I think you see Tyrese Maxey, you see him be able to get out and just run and get to the rim, and we're not seeing that. This team is literally the slowest team, slowest pace in the NBA. So I want Tyrese Maxey to be put in positions to succeed. We're not seeing that pick and roll develop with Tyrese Maxey right now. I mean, obviously Joel Embiid, he has a history of struggling at rolling to the basket. We saw kind of this much glimpse of it over the last week, where I think he made one literal roll to the basket. You look at Drummond, you look at Tobias, you look at Joel Embiid. They're among the 3 worst in the NBA at rolling to the basket. Joel Embiid is more of a pick and pop type of thing, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be working on these things. Getting the ball down low and clearing everybody isn't the only way to get Joel Embiid easy buckets. Get him moving to the basket. I know he struggled with it, but they have to do something. There has to be something about getting those two more familiar with each other, and then as well as putting Tyrese Maxey in a better position to succeed. So I'm not saying like do not play Tyrese Maxey with Joel Embiid. Like they should be together. Just because you start doesn't mean you don't finish the game. So that's my only take.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there. I do think there have been notes of improvement from Embiid as a roller this year more than ever. Throughout his career, I pretty much can't remember any semblance of it. And at least there are some stretches where you will see it and some signs of life this year. Still a long ways to go. He's by no means graded it or anything, but I am encouraged by just signs of progress in that direction. And it with Maxey, like that needs to happen. That growth needs to continue to happen. As far as benching him, I mean, like you said, in the end, it doesn't matter with how many minutes he play and where the structure is. I like the idea of him playing with Matisse because Matisse is a guy that gets out on the break. Maxey's the only guy on this team that has like a change of pace burst and like a change of pace energy. And like even the first game of the Hornets that he was out with a non-COVID sickness, like you felt the lack of energy from him not being there. And just on one hand, it's cool that he brings that, but on another hand, it's real concerning how reliant they are on that and how he does seem to be the only guy that consistently brings that energy and effort on a nightly basis and just has that kind of spark plug that this team needs. I still am holding out hope that there is development, and I just think the more they play together is the only way it's getting better when we talk about the relationship between him and Embiid. I think in a lot of ways, the keys need to be handed more and more to Maxey, and I still want to see that rather than him serving as a focal point with the second unit, which he absolutely should do in stretches. I want to see him and Embiid just grow together and see what that can bring. Because I do think there definitely are some major roster construction issues on the way when we think about the looming bend, the trade deadline. Like there's going to be some big changes on this team, and just fully evaluating what Maxey and Embiid can be as a duo or on the court together is huge on like what we're even looking for.
Couldn't agree more. Yep.
I actually laughed last night during the Hornets game when Curry hit Embiid on a rolling pocket pass, and I literally stood up. I was like, "Oh my god, a pick and roll!" And then he got hammered in the face, like just crushed, just hit across it. I was like, I guess that's what happens when he rolls. The poor guy can't stay out of his own way, and I forget who it was, just hit him right across the face. But it was Oubre. Of course, it was Oubre. But like, it is one of those things that you like. It's such a normal basketball function that it's surprising when you realize how little the Sixers utilize the pick and roll as a threat offensively. Like it makes no sense. Like, and again, it's not Embiid's game, but there's other ways to do it. And even when Ben was around, like he could have been a great screener. He could have been a great roller, a threat in that way. And they didn't have a guy to handle the ball in that action. So it's just very much a mess right now. And the games are frustratingly, like they're frustrating wins. I haven't been like really watching any of these games except for maybe Atlanta. Atlanta was a very good, rejoicing, like needed win. But like ever since then, like you talk about, the Magic, not a good win. Like it just happened to be a win. It wasn't a good game. The last 2 games against the Hornets, you take them to overtime. Then last night it takes another great Embiid performance and it goes down to like the last minute. And then they almost throw the game away. Turnovers late, missed free throws. Like it's the same thing over and over, and it's like a nightmare. It literally is like you wake up from the same dream all the time. Like, and there's no real one fix, I guess. So like if there was something like it's I'm giving you the keys to the whole world here, I guess. But if there was something that you could do, one change that you could see happening in the near future, like do you have anything that really sticks out to you as the biggest need for a change?
Oh shit.
It's a tough question.
Get rid
That
of
is a
Doc
tough
Rivers.
question.
It's not gonna happen. The only way that happens if like he takes like a front office role or like he has like they come to a mutual agreement. He's gonna get it. Doc will get 100% another job with another team the second he leaves the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
I still think this team needs another point guard. I think people get a little overboard with Tyrese Maxey's point guard skills.
Yeah.
I don't think they're there. That's why I do think it would be a little bit better off ball or off the bench. I mean, for me, it's a point guard, and it fucking pisses me off that like Malcolm Brogdon signed that extension. Like, but if they could bring in like a starting caliber point guard, one that could thrive in the starting lineup, move Tyrese Maxey to the bench, you know, that doesn't mean he's not going to play a shit ton. He will. I don't know if there is one, man. I have definitely swallowed that like pill that like this season is kind of like, where are we going? Like how do we get the most value out of a Ben Simmons trade? How do we get the most value out of Joel Embiid? How do we get the most value out of Tyrese Maxey and so forth? It really is probably looking at this offseason and then, revamping this roster to best fit Joel Embiid. Why would you want to play with the Sixers right now when the entire offense is throw the ball to Joel and let him score? I wouldn't want to play with that. Would you want to play with that, James? That is not an offense. You look at Sixers of past, like there's ball movement, there's guys cutting. The Sixers are like literally the best team at cutting to the basket in the NBA. They run it the fucking lowest out of any team in the NBA. There's things in this Sixers offense that work. I'm not saying it's not fixable. However, like when you talk about like the ceiling of this team, I think it is what it is. And I think they're probably kind of capped out, at least at this moment. What that means is like, probably trading Ben Simmons for as much draft capital as possible, moving that with a successive move, following that with Tobias Harris. I, for one, would 100% trade Tobias if that means eating the salary and moving to next year and, focusing on this offseason Ben trade and having a lot of cap space to really kind of make a jump for next year. I think that's just the reality of what we're looking at, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. And that was the Tobias point was what I was going to bring up. And it's unfortunate how much I've soured on Tobias. But frankly, he's valued so much more for being a good guy and a good locker room guy and leader. But he's valued so much more for that than what he actually does on the court. And at the end of the day, when you're paying this guy the amount of money that he is on the books for, there just has to be more. And he's not a clean fit next to Embiid either. Like when we talk about how much it was the Simmons and Embiid not clicking together, like Tobias and Embiid operate in the same space too. There's been a ton of times this season where we've seen them double posted up on both sides. It's just like that's not the complementary piece we're looking for. And I mean, again, it's rough, like what a good person he is, and all like no hate for Toby, but it just doesn't quite work. And it's so frustrating for a guy that numbers wise is a pretty good 3-point shooter. Just the unwillingness he seems to have to take it.
So frustrating, man.
Yeah, like the double pump, like just shoot the ball, man. And he's short on every jumper. If I was guarding Tobias Harris, I would call it a short on every time he puts it up. If he's missing, it's hitting the front rim. Like that's all it is. And I don't know if he short arms it, if he doesn't have the leg, but just a little burst. It's always just coming in short. And I never feel good about the shots going off his hand. He's had flashes where he's certainly impressed and shown signs of being like the closer mentality and taking big shots in this, but he's just not the guy that can complement Embiid and what we need. And with that as our only number two, with Simmons, who knows with that? I mean, it's just frustrating with where we're at.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very tough realization that I think we've all been kind of coming to over the last month or so, with the poor play of Tobias and just everything that the way that this team is kind of where they started, and the hope that we all had when they started this stretch to where we are now. It's been a really downhill stretch. It's been rough. It's been very difficult, to be honest. I thought we would be in a much, if you asked me 5 years ago where we would be right now, my answer would be much, much different than where we are today. But
And I will say the thing that does keep me on the hook here and keep like willing is Joel Embiid is so good that if we find like another piece to pair him with that properly complements him and we can build, like we're right back to legitimate contenders. Yeah. Like we certainly have a ton of mismatched parts and mismatched pieces right now, but if there's another like a guy to pair with Embiid, everything can fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that is the one remaining like strail of hope that we have, and that Morey isn't going to let this go. Like Morey's not going to let these years pass by without at least giving him a reasonable shot. Like I've been kind of gearing up and been, bundled up waiting for that Morey deal, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and we've been waiting for a little bit. And I think, by the trade deadline, we're looking at something, and especially next offseason, we're looking at probably a lot of moves that are going to be made. So, buckle up, be ready. That being said, we're right around tip-off time right here, where the Sixers are about to tip off against the Jazz. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate the time in your busy day. If you have anything, plug your YouTube really quick. Go ahead.
Oh, man. All right. Tomorrow we've got Wheel of Time reviews going down. If you haven't seen that, it's like Lord of the Rings. Really, really fun show that just came out on Amazon. That's going down tomorrow. Saturday night, we've got this is the Painted Lines and my Suit Up Geeks YouTube channel. Saturday night, we have a Christmas movie draft. So if you love fantasy football, but with movies, all the best Christmas movies. I have the 5th pick in the draft. I'm not going to say what I'm picking, but it's really fun. And Twitter votes for who has the best 5 teams of Christmas movies. That's going down Saturday. And we're getting ready for Spider-Man week. Let's be fucking honest. Like I'm so excited. I have shows lined up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for everything Spider-Man. For sports, we have my podcast Party on Broad with Rob Lange, Sixers and Eagles content. We break it down, NBA draft, NFL draft. That is my bread and butter. I love those 2 things. It's my favorite thing in sports. I have this weird niche, guys. I don't know if Sean knows, but like my world is Philly sports and then nerd content. I don't watch the NBA. I'm more, if the Sixers aren't on TV or the Flyers aren't on TV or if the Eagles aren't on TV, vice versa, whatever, I'm probably watching like the latest TV show and we're doing reviews or movie. I do a lot of movie and TV reviews, or I'll watch the Blue Coats. Love me some Blue Coats. And college basketball, college football. Love it to death. And then I've got Morning Cup of Joe with Tiago, the best Sixers Twitter follow, period. At T Scabia. Love that guy to death. I've got the Suit Up Geeks at the Suit Up Geeks on Twitter. It's a lot of fun. We do Hawkeye reviews, Wheel of Time, Disney movie, TV, everything reviews, the latest content. So I'm a big nerd, as you can tell. We're getting ready for Book of Boba Fett here. We're getting ready for The Witcher. We're getting ready for Cobra Kai. That's going to be a blast. So I'm a big nerd. It is what it is.
Well, we thank you for sharing your nerdiness with us. We really appreciate it always here at the Pick Swap Podcast, and you're always welcome back. So, again, we really appreciate it. Tap into the Sixers and Jazz game, and we'll talk to you guys next week.